Detroit. My name's Joe Biden, and I'm a lifetime member of the NAACP.
This is MichMash, a weekly conversation where we try to unjumble an important and sometimes under-the-radar statewide story that affects you. I'm Cheyna Roth.
And I'm Alethia Kasben. President Joe Biden made his first Detroit campaign stop last weekend to speak at the NAACP's Legacy Dinner as he works to shore up support from Black voters in Michigan and across the country.
During his speech, Biden spoke about what his administration has done for Black people and what he would do with 4 more years. Some Democrats, however, are concerned about Biden's support among Black voters. Flint Mayor Sheldon Neeley is one of those officials, and we asked him about whether the Democratic Party is doing enough for Black voters.
We need to be able to engage and then promote, a choice and freedom. It relates to what we want to select, but definitely we have to make the voting process more accessible, more amenable, and then be able to really educate people about the importance of voting, whether they're voting red or blue. If nothing else, we should be all thinking about making sure that we have the freedoms that we brag about each and every day, and not to have these artificial impediments that's been placed before us as a society.
Republicans are hoping to capitalize on some of this unease, but it's important to note that Black voters overwhelmingly vote for Democrats. We see that in Detroit, in individual legislative districts where Democrats get 90 to 95% of the vote regularly. And we saw that nationwide in 2016 and 2020, where 91% of Black voters chose Hillary Clinton and 92% chose Joe Biden.
But remember, we're in Michigan, and in a state like Michigan, where the presidential race is expected to be tight, any amount of drop-off or voters just sort of sitting out this election could have a massive impact. I mean, Michigan is likely a must-win for any candidate.
Exactly. So you'll see both sides campaigning here and making their case to voters, including Black voters. The Michigan Republican Party this week also announced a digital campaign aimed at Black voters, and Democrats here have a strong organization among Black leadership. Michigan Democratic Party Chair Lavora Barnes is Black and has defended Biden's record.
House Speaker Joe Tate and Lieutenant Governor Garland Gilchrist, both Black Detroiters, also touted Biden's work for Black residents ahead of Biden's speech this week. But it will all come down to how the candidates get this message to Black voters across the state, including in Detroit.
Yes, definitely. You might remember in 2016, Hillary Clinton lost Michigan by 10,000 votes. Turnout in Detroit specifically has hovered just under 50% in 2016 and 2020. It was slightly higher in 2008 and 2012 when former President Barack Obama was on the ballot. But President Biden received even slightly fewer votes than Clinton in the city in 2020, while Trump upped his margin by 5,000 votes. So Democrats could focus on trying to up that turnout in their favor this year.
Honestly, right now, it is anyone's state to take. And with only about 6 months left until Election Day, I have a feeling we'll be seeing a lot more political faces in the Mitten. We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll have our conversation with Mayor Neeley. Stick around. Welcome back to MichMash. I'm Cheyna Roth.
And I'm Alethia Kasben. We're joined now by Flint Mayor Sheldon Neeley. Welcome, Mayor.
Thank you. Thank you guys for having me.
Of course. So, we've just passed the 10-year anniversary of the Flint water crisis. How would you say the city is doing today compared to 10 years ago?
Well, Cheyna, I want to just, say that, as a resident of this community, being here my whole life, it was a very, very difficult time as this, unfolded here in my community. My family, myself, my neighbors, and my friends, we're all devastated by, the level of discomfort and what was going on for the 10-year. And after the 10-year period, now we're trying to turn the page and turn the chapter as we get better each and every day. And that's what we've been doing for the past decade, in spite of all the other crises that we had to overcome, a financial crisis and also a world health crisis. And, we defined it at one point in time, the intersection of crisis. But we've been plugging away, and now a decade later, we can actually look at some of the accomplishments that we have made and some of the things that we still have to do here in this community.
So has enough been done in your mind to rectify what has happened in Flint over the last 10 years?
No, not at all. Not at all. We still have a lot of work to continue to do on many different levels. We have to, first continue to maintain the replacement and the upgrades of our infrastructure. Then also we have to restore a level of confidence with the residents. Residents feel betrayed, myself and my family included, when the lack of a level of transparency with government happened in our community, and it eroded away a level of trust. And so, with the eroded level of trust, we still have some work to do to restore a level of confidence. So we have more work to do, and we're continuing to do that work here in the city of Flint.
The trust issue to me seems, number one. We have, messages from the state, from the city, especially on water, that, things are safer now. We've worked really hard to sort of fix this, and you just still see a lot of residents that don't seem to believe that. And it's understandable considering, what they were told when they brought up this issue 10 years ago initially. So what more can the city do? Can the state do to earn back, residents' trust and get Flint, back to the community it once was?
Definitely is a crisis of confidence on all levels. We have to include the federal government as well as the state and also the local, government. But the only thing that we can do from this position here is continue to perform each and every day. Our water is the most tested and the most, monitored in probably the state of Michigan. As we continue to provide our testing and show good testing levels, continue to do that, open up our water facilities to residents for tours so they can actually see the major infrastructure upgrades, and continuing to do those type of things. And over a period of time, I believe that an element of trust will be restored. But definitely it's going to be some time, and we got to continue to work with our residents each and every day here in this community to restore a level of confidence. But definitely it's going to take time.
And as part of that, you've proposed a plan to help Flint residents with water bills. Can you tell us more about that?
Yeah, we've used a lot of different resources from the state level, also the federal level, and also the local level to be able to assist people with the affordability of water in this community. We have some tough challenges, in our country and also in our state for low to moderate income families to be able to afford what I believe and what I've said over and over, that I believe water is a human right. And so we want to make sure it's affordable for residents. And so we've taken some of our American Rescue Plan dollars into that frame of what the name of it is, American Rescue Plan, and to be able to put it in position for some of those most hardest hit individuals to be able to keep the essential source of water into their homes. But definitely we have to all pull along together to be able to overcome it. One of the things I say here in the city of Flint, I call it prayer, planning, and partnership. We pray, we plan, and we look for our partners. We've been able to receive some dollars from the federal government in the form of American Rescue Plan dollars that we can actually put toward this effort. The state of Michigan, with different programs like My Half program and other programs from DHHS, to be able to assist residents where they are if they need to be able to get additional assistance to be able to afford the commodity of water.
I'm curious what your reaction was earlier this year when the state charges against officials related to the crisis were dropped and that investigation was essentially closed for good.
Well, it was another blow. As a resident of this community, we expected people to be held accountable if they were criminally culpable for the things that happened to this great community. If it was adjudicated in the court and the verdict of guilt or innocence was pronounced, is one thing. But for residents to never have their day in court, to lose on a technicality, it's really, really a hard thing to swallow. But it's a feeling of disappointment, anger, and frustration. And so definitely, as I said, as a resident, those are some of the things that I felt, and those are some of the things that residents expressed across the full city of Flint.
And do you think the Attorney General's office, made the right choice in starting that investigation over when, she assumed office in 2018?
I'm not going to presume to understand what the rationale was in that decision making, but definitely it was something that this current Attorney General, which I hold in high regards, I have a lot of respect for her, Attorney General Dana Nessel. She inherited a problem, and that she was trying to overcome some of the barriers that was presented and given to her. And so I make no presumption about what should have happened, but definitely we've never seen all of the documentation. We've never seen all of the things and that came to help her make her decision going forward. We've never seen those documents, and when the judge ruled on that technicality, we may not ever see it. And so one of the things that I would like to see is to be able to take a look at all the evidence and all the things, much like every other resident inside the city, to be able to take a look at it. And so with that, we just have to continue to press forward for our families.
Moving on to a slightly different topic, you filed but then withdrew from the Mid-Michigan 8th U.S. House seat currently held by Representative Dan Kildee. Afterward, you told the Flint Journal the party had a preferred candidate and was making it challenging for other candidates, particularly minority candidates, to compete. Now, you've been in politics a very long time. How big a problem do you think this is?
Well, it's about the dominant sins of our country. We talk about bias and different things, and we need to engage in more courageous conversations along those lines, and especially the Democratic Party, which I'm a member of. We have to be able to say that really truly that we are a party of inclusion versus exclusion. When we have qualified individuals that can engage in a space to be able to obtain, to be able to serve, we need to be able to look at that with an open eye and not select before we have the opportunity to elect. And that's what I've seen. What I witnessed that's my reality. I'm still engaged in promoting the Democratic Party as I will be moving forward. But definitely it was disappointing to be able to see what I call the stacking of a deck. But that's my reality, and that's what I face. And so, in order not to fracture the party, in order not to fracture our common goals, I chose not to go forward with that to try to unify us. But definitely, we will be trying to lift the dialogue around race relations, class relations, gender relations, and we want to make sure we elevate that to have a party that we can all be proud of. And I think that's very important on both sides.
In that same vein, you wrote an op-ed in the Flint Courier News saying that there aren't enough Black lawmakers at the federal level representing Michigan, especially for Democrats. You pointed out the only Black Michigan representative in Congress right now is actually a Republican. And you wrote, "It seems like a glass ceiling has resurfaced to block experienced and well-qualified Black Democratic candidates from reaching elected office at the federal level." So what do Democrats need to do better?
Well, it just need to have a dialogue. Democrats and Republicans both. We pride ourselves on saying that we're a country of inclusion, a melting pot. But we have to really look back and we pose this question. We look back at the year 1870. 7 years after the emancipation of Black people in this country. During that period of time, we had more people of color in the Senate and also the Congress in 1870 than we do now in 2024. And we have to look at that and that migration from that place then to where we are now. And then we have to look at the inclusion. We have a lot of talented and skilled individuals from all walks of life, all colors, all creeds and genders. But definitely we can only become stronger as a country if we take the strongest and allow the opportunity of democracy to reign true. And so when you see the stacking of a deck and you talk about the 13th congressional district or the 8th congressional district here in both places, we saw in Detroit where they filed a lawsuit because of the redrawing of lines. We have issues that we have to be able to talk about, and we have to have those courageous conversations. And sometimes it takes brave leadership to be able to engage in those spaces. And that's what we're looking for. That's what the people are looking for. Because on vote day, the largest turnout is the ones who don't turn out, right? And so we have more people in this country that don't vote that do vote. And so what does that really say? And how do we overcome that space as we look to engage the greatest American right that we have as a populace? And that's the right to be able to vote. And so we have some work to do. We got to have those courageous conversations.
And you're not the only Black Democrat warning the party about potential problems with Black voters. Are you concerned that Black voters are going to sit out this election, which could potentially hurt Democratic President Joe Biden's chances?
Well, I think it hurts our country. I think it's not just one party type of issue. It hurts our country as we are united, as our Pledge of Allegiance, one nation, we're here together, and so we look for that the ending of it with liberty and justice for all. And when we say liberty and justice for all, that's all of us together. And so we need to be able to engage and then promote, a choice and freedom in relates to, what we want to select. But definitely we have to make the voting process more accessible, more amenable, and then be able to really educate people about the importance of voting, whether they're voting red or blue. And I just really want to reiterate that the power of conversation, the power of dialogue, the power of coming together, of meeting the minds of a common thinking. If nothing else, we should be all thinking about making sure that we have the freedoms that we brag about each and every day, and not to have these artificial impediments that's been placed before us as a society. So I'm willing to do that. I'm here to do that. I'm going to continue to educate people where they are in many spaces, especially in urban America. In secondary education, you have courses that's lightly in civics, lightly in government. I'm working in classrooms. I visit classrooms quite often to talk about the importance of engagement, about the three branches of government. But we all have to do more. We have to make it better. And that's what I'm committed to do as a true American citizen. Not to say that anybody's not a true American citizen, but from my preview, that's what I'm doing, and that's the charge that's before me. And I am working very hard, and I'm looking at people of like thinking to join the ranks of that to be able to move our country forward.
President Joe Biden did just speak to the NAACP in Detroit, where he did touch on, a lot of these issues, that you're bringing up. Do you think that this is a positive sign?
It's a positive sign if it's a start and if it's a cue to get others on board. But it's not something that we should be talking about only in election season. It's something that we should be engaging each and every day of our lives, to work for a level of equality in our country. As we talk about things, and that's some of the things that we do here, in the city of Flint. I'm part of a group called Mayors for a Guaranteed Income to lift people out of poverty. We have the only program here in the city of Flint in the nation with RX Kids, where mothers are getting a stipend, $1,500 when they're announced that they're pregnant here. And then we give them $500 every month of the child's life for the first year. We talk about, trying to overcome the infant mortality ratio in communities of color, which is 4 times children of color are to die, unlike their white counterparts. We want to look at that, or maternal mortality. Black and brown mothers are more likely to have complications or death 3 times more likely than their white counterparts. And so we know that income is directly tied to health outcomes. And so we push forward with those unique things and unique ways to be able to engage spaces to be able to help the experience of life. And we're doing it right here in the city of Flint. And this administration is not afraid to take on those heavy challenges to be able to engage those spaces where many people don't tread or really want to communicate about.
There is still a lot of chatter going around about this concern that voters are just not excited about Biden, particularly young voters. What are you hearing as you talk to constituents in Flint? Is there enthusiasm for President Biden?
Well, I don't think there's enthusiasm in any space of any of it, whatsoever. I think that, people are looking in different ways of saying good versus bad. They're just saying better versus worse. And it's two different compasses there, right? We talk about good versus evil or right versus wrong, and sometimes we've surrendered to better versus worse, right? And better or worse. And so I think we need to recalibrate and look at what is good, what is better in the space of right and wrong than the two candidates that we're looking at. But I don't think anyone's enthused about anything at the top of the ticket right now. But right now, it's going to be a challenge for both sides to be able to get the messaging out and really explain what they can do for American citizens in this country.
Switching gears again, you're getting ready to launch a city ambulance program using opioid settlement funding. Can you tell us, more about that and why, this is a good use of that funding?
Well, it's a very unique way that we looked at it. I talk about prayer planning and partnership. One of the things in my weekly meetings with my department heads, and then we talk about first responders. We talk about major medical transport units, and which has been privatized all through my county, which is 33 units of government, and privatization with multiple companies handles that dispatching from 911 to our private companies. Nothing to say against private corporations, but they just didn't have the capacity to serve the residents in full. They said the minimum wait time in my community for a major medical transport unit was a half an hour. And if a person is experiencing a heart attack or a stroke, every second counts. And so when I heard that, I said, immediately we're going to take it back into our own control, have our firefighters, which are all EMS trained professionals, to be able to have transport units available for them. But funding has always been very, very tight for communities like Flint. But Big Pharma was sued by the state of Michigan and others, and we got settlement dollars. And so I took those settlement dollars to purchase the transport unit and more are coming, using our own personnel to marry that to be able to get a better outcome and service for our residents. And so when we look at the opioid epidemic, especially through the Rust Belt of America and how many families are experiencing or having family members or friends that they know experiencing overdoses. In the city of Flint, we experience a lot of those situations, but we have to be able to respond with Narcan kits and other things. But definitely transport units was very important. And I'm very, very happy that we, came together to agree that this was a great use of the dollars. And I don't think any other community that has got this additional resources or revenue stream used it in this way. But definitely that revenue stream is being poured back into the community with a level of investment that will save lives.
Do you think this is something other communities across the state could possibly emulate?
I'm hoping so. Using the city of Flint as the tip of the blade, the starting of it, understanding the importance of preserving life at every level. Definitely, I hope they would take a cue from what we're doing and look up ways to improve upon what the model in which we're setting, and as we're going to improve upon what we're doing each and every day as we go forth. The idea is to get a full fleet of ambulances as we ramp up personnel, making sure that we can sustain what we're doing. But definitely the benefit is going to be for the residents of this community that we will save lives. There's no doubt in my mind that this initiative will save lives. Using dollars from a lawsuit settlement, pouring it back into the community. And the benefit of this is really thinking about this is through no tax increase to residents, no cost increase to them whatsoever, but a great benefit to them, especially if you're experiencing a major medical issue and that we have to be able to administer life-saving measures. And so these dollars are wonderfully used in this space. And I'm just so blessed to be in a position to be able to make this call as an administrator and as an executive, as the mayor of this community.
Great. Well, Mayor Neeley, thanks so much for joining us today on MichMash.
Well, thank you, and you guys stay blessed and have a wonderful, wonderful Memorial Day weekend, and God bless you.